Welcome to the whitest house. Slave souls haunt the halls when the light is out. They suck the blood of the poor and the
your entire political identity.
gas of a world that is dying out. Welcome to the whitest house, where every room is a tomb that they lie about. Where you can put your filthy feet on the finest couch, and for the right amount, you can even buy
That's
it
the
out.
essence of your entire political identity. You might be a white supremacist.
What's up? What's up? Welcome to This Week in White Supremacy. Do we need a disclaimer? I think from the gate.
Man, listen, I'll get a disclaimer. This week we're gonna talk about police.
Yeah. We got
This is gonna be the
lot.
policing episode. So if you are a staunch Blue Lives Matter supporter, or if oppositional stances against someone mute their phone. That's disrespectful while I'm talking. If you are someone who's going to be offended easily at derogatory views against police, this ain't
I wouldn't even say they derogatory views. I would say that
they're just realistic, bro. It's just
we're just reporting on the
I might have some derogatory things to say.
I got you. Well, I mean, I think, looking at what's happened over the last week, and mind you, this is a week's worth of stories, maybe not even a whole entire week's worth of stories.
We really started collecting the shit on Saturday.
Right. And so it is a lot of, and it's really like story after story about, police and kind of folks' response to the police. So we did want to say that, it's This Week in White Supremacy. And this week, police, it's just some wild stories. So you be the judge yourself, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to report the story. We're going to share the story. You know what I'm saying? You be the judge in terms of what you think. But yeah, if you are on that, Blue Lives Matter, I don't know if there's not such a thing as
Ain't
a
no
blue life.
No Smurfs.
You know what I'm
There's
saying?
no Smurfs out here, man.
There are.
There's a blue job, but not a blue life.
That's a great point, Treble.
And you know what? Don't text my phone if you got green bubbles. We only want blue bubbles on my phone.
So I'll introduce myself. Let's introduce ourselves and let's get into it. I'm Jasiri X. I am the co-founder and CEO of One Hood Media. To my immediate right or left, depending on how you look at the screen.
It's your girl, Miracle, the better half of the Wonder Twins, the darkness, the queen, also the official.
Wait a second. I'm about to say there's something right up there. I don't know if anybody can see that.
Oh, damn, I didn't see that. Come on, Esquire, get it popping. Block, rock.
But
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
my
know
twin.
if you can help y'all
That's my
and
twin.
please don't ask me for any type of legal advice.
Yes, respect that. Mr. NLS, how you doing, my brother?
Yo, it's Treble Never Liked Supremacy. You know what I'm saying? Professional drinker of water, and lifetime learner.
I like that. Definitely. And you already on one. Clearly, you done threw the classes off, threw them back on. What's popping?
It's fashionable for Rook Saeed with the shades. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So anyway, fashionable. And you didn't have did you have that on earlier?
Nah, man, I switched because we were chatting about police today, and I just thought, there was
you want to spirit of
Dice,
Malcolm.
Yeah, Dice Ross said something, man, on a Roots record. He was like, "How many niggas go to prison? How many come out Malcolm X?" So I just thought that I had, since we could talk about policing today, right here.
My alma mater was books. I like that. So
Yeah.
let's start with we were all really, really super anxious yesterday, particularly to, I'll speak for myself when the announcement came, like the verdict is in. And, what was wild was, despite the fact that there was video evidence, despite the fact that all these police officers testified against Chauvin, we still did not know, because we've seen, time and time again, police kill us on video. We saw it right here in Pittsburgh with,
Antoine Rose II.
Right, the murder of Antoine Rose II on video, and cops being found not guilty. So just general, like when the verdict came through and it was guilty, just wanted to get everybody's general reaction to that. Miracle?
I'm
sorry, go ahead, Farouk.
No, I was shocked. I was
You were legitimately shocked.
legitimately shocked. Like I was like, I was just sitting on the couch waiting for not guilty on all counts. That's what I was expecting in my heart. I'm happy that it didn't go out that way, but we still have to wait to see sentencing.
Right. Miracle?
Same. Like I did watch it live, and it happened so fast, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is legitimately happening. But at the same time, I didn't want to like put a damper on how people felt, but like within an hour, we knew there was another police shooting, right? So it was just like celebration. Okay, maybe people will like be like Black people actually matter instead of being like Black trauma needs to sustain these movements, and maybe also seeing Black people actually making some headway in the legal system will mobilize and invigorate people to keep fighting for justice. And before we could even have those conversations, it was like, oh, somebody else got shot. So it was like very, very short-lived for me.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that because that was, from what we heard, it was like either right as the verdict was being read or right after you had this police shooting in Columbus, Ohio. That definitely, and I think you were right. Like a lot of people talked about like this isn't, I think Keith Ellison, who is the AG in Minnesota, talked about this isn't justice, this is accountability. Like it's not, this isn't justice, but this was at least this police officer was being held accountable. What were your thoughts, Trouble?
So I had like a couple of emotions going on. It was like a dynamic thing. At first I was happy to finally see a cop get held accountable, but then I was like sad because I was like, damn, like we got to celebrate them doing their job. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to celebrate a cop being held accountable in 2021. You feel me? It's like that. When you think about like what that means socially, it's just like, damn, like we still have a long ways to go. And it's 100%. Like, I know we still have a long ways to go because it's like, yeah, this cop was held accountable, but I could still leave my house and get shot by another cop and he find a reason to get off on it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I saw one tweet, I think Khalil had put up of Young Black Motivated Kings and Queens, where somebody was saying like, think about all those families that experienced that not guilty. You know what I'm saying? And kind of, how all of these traumatic experiences like brings that back up. But you're absolutely right. I mean, like, like when you have videotape evidence, when you have all of this evidence, that person is supposed to be found guilty. But, and I think it was police officers, I want to say it might be either less, I think it's less than 1% of police officers are actually found guilty and held accountable. So we were going up against these tremendous odds. Now, and I felt relief. Once the verdict was announced, it was a lot of, media people kind of hit me up like, hey, would you want to comment, or you want to comment right after the verdict? And, my response was like, the fact that we had to be like almost held hostage, was super frustrating. And so I felt relief, but with the understanding that, the system that produces these police killings and the system that allows these cops to get off is still intact. You know what I'm saying? That we didn't break that system down. Now, shout out to those folks that organized and police organizers on the ground, and folks that really, put pressure on the system. But one of the things that happened, and I don't want to kind of compare this to the OJ verdict, but it was similar to stuff that like white people, particularly, it seemed like racist white people were really mad. Like instead of saying like, the justice system worked, we saw, kind of your regular racists, right? Like Ben Shapiro put something out when, Don Lemon of CNN said justice was served. He responded like, oh, I wonder if you wouldn't have said that if the situation was reversed. Of course he wouldn't have said that, dumbass. Like it wouldn't have been justice. like the cop getting off wouldn't have been justice. But you know, it's like racists came out. Tommy Lauren, who is just, you know, somebody that really exists in the space of to kind of like wait for these moments to like say some bullshit and put her name out there.
Her existence revolves around mediocrity and mayonnaise. Like, she is the champion of all things mayonnaise, and it's just like the echo chamber that she exists in is like muted until some shit like this happens. Like you said, she lives for these fucking moments.
She lives for these moments to be racist, and was racist, saying like this was your justice. It wasn't a collective community justice. It was your justice. The Los Angeles Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders put out like a thing that said, "I can breathe."
Tucker Carlson.
Right.
What
Tucker
does
Carlson.
that mean? What the fuck? I can breathe. What were they trying to say?
Who knows, man? I mean, you have white people trying to like, and not to say, you know, white people can't tweet this moment, but you kind of had like, you know, the mayors and the governors and all these businesses kind of like putting these statements out around George Floyd. You had, you know, Warner Brothers put out a statement, and people was like, well, this black man who just appeared in Justice League just talked about how racist you were, and you didn't do anything to mitigate these problems. So this was the Raiders trying to be like, hey, we can breathe. And it's like, but I don't think that's appropriate to say in this moment. You know, white person, like, relax. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of had all of these things, but just like you said, Tucker Carlson he
lost his damn mind. Like, yeah, Tucker Carlson lost his fucking mind.
He actually had an ex-cop on the show saying he thought it was excessive force, and Tucker Carlson actually got mad at him and like cut him off. And now all of a sudden, who's going to be a cop? But I did want to ask you this question, Miracle, and I'll come to Miracle first, but I want to ask it for the panel. You know, there was this idea. All of these white people were talking about that this was public pressure. Like, this wasn't actually justice, but this was a jury understanding that if they had found Chauvin not guilty, that the whole country would have went up in smoke. Was that the case? Do you see it like that, or how should we respond to people who have that critique?
First of all, this case is not happened without Keith Ellison. So for the breakdown, for people who need to understand, what they did was like first and second and almost like involuntary manslaughter. All of the other charges, when we think about what happened here in Pittsburgh, when we think about, you know, even Rekia Boyd, when we think of even like George Zimmerman and all the, you know, a lot of these white supremacists who've gotten off, they've gotten charged with the highest level of murder. These prosecutors have overcharged these cases so that justice could not even be in the conversation. What Keith Ellison did is give actual charges that could be proven, number one. Number two, no, every single time there is a high profile case, there are threats being made. There is pressure. There is media coverage. We wouldn't have crime TV and court TV and all of these crime shows and pundits if there wasn't going to be media pressure. So no, and at the same time, from Rodney King until now, we see people get off all the time. So this was not a caving of pressure. This was, and I also say if Chauvin would have shot George Floyd, we would have a different conversation, right? Because there's a possibility he would have walked in that because he would have feared for his life. What he did was choke him out. And there were other police officers, other EMTs, other first responders who tried to engage. And more so than upholding the system of white supremacy, what these officers and EMTs did to this one officer was so absorbed on power that he not only failed to follow protocol, he failed to respond and listen and engage his fellow officers. And that is a problem, right? So when we're looking at all of these moving parts, it isn't that people were going to burn, because you know what? People burn and riot. And let's be very honest. When there was a football game a few days ago, people were burning, rioting, and looting. People only care about riots and violence when it's done to further Black liberation and Black causes.
100%.
Nobody is scared about Black nobody's scared about violence until it has a black face. Let's be very, very clear. Like January 6th wasn't that far away. So stop trying, because you're actually seeing the fruits of Black people being in positions of power, of Black organizing. Stop trying to attach it to violence or attach it to something negative. This man messed up on multiple video cameras. And according to some folks, the worst video camera footage hasn't even been made public. The footage of George in the hospital or in the EMT and all this other type of stuff. So we haven't even seen the worst and most vile of the footage. He got convicted because it was 9 minutes. Eric Garner was over 7 minutes. After Eric Garner, we know that you shouldn't be out here choking folks. It's very simple. And that is why he's in jail. Had he tased George, had he shot him, we would be having a different conversation. But the reason he's in jail is because the Black Muslim Attorney General did his job and charged appropriately. Not only did he charge appropriately, if you watch, and you can compare this to the trial of Michael Rothfeld, whenever the defense put on an argument, the state counteracted it and rebutted it immediately. They did not wait till the end. They did not put on like a piss poor performance. They had experts after experts, and they were on cross. They were able to seek to sow doubt from the very beginning. They did their job. Now, if other prosecutors had did even just a fifth of what the Minneapolis Attorney General, there would be more convictions. And so I want people to if they can, go back and read the trial transcript, specifically of the defense witnesses who were talking about the carbon monoxide and all this type of stuff. Read that cross. What the state did was basically say, you're full of it. This is not why George died. And they didn't wait to put on like a person said, well, perhaps. And again, I would compare these transcripts to Michael Rothfeld transcripts, and it will be night and day in regards to what the prosecution did.
No, I remember the case of I believe the guy's name was Michael Nunn, who killed Jordan Davis because his music was too loud. And that was one of the things the prosecutors in Florida did. They overcharged him, and he got off, and they had to come back on appeal, and they had to do that. Like they were kind of put in a position where they're forced to do right, and he eventually got convicted. So that's one of those things. And I think, but is there anything wrong? And I'll come to you, Trouble and Fruit. Is there anything wrong with just like you said, to me, that goes to the organizing that folks have done around this issue. That goes to the fact that, when we saw that video, there were protests in every city, protests around the world based on that video. So I don't think that that's a bad thing, that they know, like, okay, if he's found not guilty, folks are going to be in the street. You know what I'm saying? Like folks are saying like, no, we are collectively as a country and even people overseas willing to hold these people accountable for what you're supposed to be doing. If you're not going to hold them accountable, then guess what? Ain't going to be no work tomorrow. Ain't going to be no work tonight. Is that necessarily a bad thing?
I don't think that's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm starting to, get a more nuanced view of what's good and what's bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that shows that, like, there are people out there who had the heart, courage, and love to stand up for the rights of not just one person who died, but a group of people who keep dying. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
applied the pressure to a system that kind of needed that pressure. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for them to have, gotten a guilty verdict to avoid that uproar, I feel like, you know what I'm saying, that shows the effect of like putting the pressure on them. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be watching, they're going to be listening, and they're going to make sure that demands are met when they know that there's going to be like swift consequences,
Absolutely. Now we, I know normally we do Karen of the Week later on, but there was also some other, misplaced responses to the George Floyd verdict. And one came from Nancy Pelosi, who is, over the House Democrats. And this was Nancy Pelosi's response to the George Floyd verdict. If you could run that, John, and, we can, if you have not seen it.
So again, thank you, George Floyd. for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that? Call out for your mom. I can't breathe. But because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice.
Yeah, I think we can stop it right there. I mean,
Nancy did not understand the assignment, but there's one thing that Nancy Pelosi will do, as she's proven already. She's gonna white woman. She's going to Karen when given the opportunity, and from the kneeling with the kente cloth that nobody asked her to do.
Yes, we certainly did not.
We ain't need that, Nancy. Like,
and
you
that
know
was
what I mean?
that was in response to George Floyd. Remember, that was in response.
Right, that was
they all got together and they all put the kente cloth
when
on.
when they did the mayonnaise Lion King. You know what I mean? In the house, we didn't need that, right? We ain't need that. But this right here, it's like, you know, to say George Floyd, God bless the dead, and you know, let's hold space for his family too.
Absolutely.
Was a martyr. This nigga ain't had no choice, man.
Right. Like George Floyd didn't go out that day. He didn't try to throw his body in front of something. He wanted to live.
Yeah,
the fact that she said thank you for calling out for your mother, like the
like
most
that was a plan.
that was a video.
That was a vile statement. That was despicable. Like, thank you for calling out to your mom. Here's the thing. Miracle say this shit all the time, and I'm gonna paraphrase my sister. Stop giving white people the benefit of the doubt. She knew what she was saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Nancy knew what she was saying with that. You know what I mean? And for her to come out there and say, thank you for calling out to your mom. Yo, this is what we like. They have. I mean, let me stop because I might say something wild right now.
Yeah. And you want
I
to
want to say some stuff.
Go ahead, and I'm gonna come to Miracle after you, Trouble.
John, I want you to pull the video back up real quick. I want to show y'all some. You know what I'm saying? And bring it back to like the beginning of her saying like thank you.
Okay, we producing on the fly. You know what I'm saying? You're getting your production on Trouble on the fly. Well,
I just want to show y'all.
So while he's doing that, I did want to come to Miracle. Why are you doing that, John? I did want to come to you, Miracle, because you know a lot. There was like kind of like this sentiment, and it was like mostly white people about like George Floyd sacrificed for justice, and you kind of had a different take on that idea of like he sacrificed his life for justice or to help America be better.
What I would say, and I said before, is that for some reason, when violence happens to Black people, we kind of do this Christian liberation theology type thing where it's like, oh, they sacrificed, or it was the Lord's will. It was predetermination. We try to mystify Black people when they are harmed. And it is incredulous to me that we do not see how violent it is and how we're also justifying harm to Black people. Like it's okay, this Black person sacrificed, they had their Jesus moment, because now all these white people understand anti-Blackness. Now all these folks understand what's going on in the world. He sacrificed for no, he did not. He was murdered by the police. He was tortured. He was choked to death in a street for no reason. And nothing that we have passed, nothing that we have written, nothing that any of these politicians have even moved to do has even began to prevent what happened to George Floyd from happening again. And it is quite disrespectful. And I don't understand why people of faith keep being so heavenly minded that there are no earthly good to sit there and justify this violence as it is some predetermined. There is no silver lining to violence. There is no silver lining to police violence. There is no silver lining to state violence because it shouldn't be happening. And it is very tragic that we keep trying to tell people that this is the way we have to grieve. We have to sit there and we have to lionize folks instead of actually organizing and galvanizing against white supremacy.
Right. So we ready, Trouble. So you're gonna break it.
All right, so let's show and tell. Let's do this. Let's break this down.
Break it down.
So start it.
So again, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice.
All right, you can pause it here. So this is about to show you why, one, you should mean what you say, and two, if you don't feel what you're saying, it's going to be obvious when you start speaking, especially on live television. You can play it again.
For being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
All right, pause it.
Your mom.
She was clearly freestyling there. She did not mean to say that shit. You know what I'm saying? She said it and instantly thought like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. That was dumb. Why would I thank him for calling out for his mom? Why would you? That is a great question. And I'm glad that question visibly made her uncomfortable, because then she tried to call out for empathy, like, oh, how hard is that? He called out for his mom. No, we don't feel you, Nancy. We feel how uncomfortable you are, because I was fucking dumb. Play it again.
I can't breathe. But because of you and because of thousands, millions of people.
So look at that.
Pause
Pause it again. That's like a classic white people move. When they don't know what to say anymore, they start doing this little like tense shoulder head twitch. You know what I'm saying? It's like she clearly knew she fucked up in this moment.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one that got Donald Trump vibes from that speech? Like her speech pattern,
Donald Trump vibes.
Like
we're done with
speech
this.
patterns and everything like that were very Trump-esque. You know what I mean? Like someone said that was a Trump statement. Yeah, like that was a Donald Trump statement, man. Like I got heavy Donald Trump vibes from all of that. And again, it's just like, you know, we don't need this is intersectionality. White people need to learn that they don't need to center themselves around all of this shit. Like we need allyship. That's performative. If anybody was
100%.
That's performative. Like if anybody was confused on what performative white allyship looked like, Nancy Pelosi always understands that assignment. She will always be able to give you some performative white allyship and come through and say, you know what, I'm a white woman the shit out of this today.
She gonna find some kente cloth? Yes.
She gonna find some kente. Who
Yeah.
gave him the kente cloth? I'm still
I hope they
some intern.
Whoever did, I hope they charged them like 5 times whatever the kente cloth, 10 times whatever the kente.
You know
this
what?
Kente cloth costs $1,000 per yard. I hope they got their money.
This is what I bet what happened. It was the Black Caucus who was about to go do their stuff. They were out there walking in the hallway, giving each other kente cloths, and she passed by and was like, "What are y'all doing?" I want to do that too. That sounds so cool. And then just like invited herself out. And then that, like, clearly, because that's in my mind, that's what happened. Because you know, they're like, oh my God, Black people are having Black people meetings. What is happening? And in my mind, that's what happens. And you can't tell me different. Like, they were just on their way to do their little stand, a little Solange moment. And she just was like, ooh.
I want to come.
Did you give me one?
Y'all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to keep just to you know, and you touched on it earlier, Miracle. You know, right as, and this is kind of that. We weren't even Black folk. If you wanted to celebrate or you wanted to feel some type of relief, we had literally maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes before we got reports that a young Black girl, Micaiah Bryant, was shot by a Columbus police officer right after the verdict was read. You know, the story that we're hearing is she actually calls the police because you know, she was, you know, getting jumped by some girls. You know, the police showed up and it was very, very similar to the Tamir Rice, where the police jumped out his car and immediately, you know, opened fire on this group of Black girls, killing Micaiah. You know, this is coming on the heels of, you know, Adam in Chicago, a 13-year-old Black boy that was murdered. There was a young brother, 17-year-old Anthony Thompson Jr. in Tennessee, who was murdered by police. Where do we go now that, you know, before we even had a chance to say, thank the system for working, here's another police officer clearly going beyond what he was supposed to do and shooting and killing this 16-year-old young girl?
Let me say this. How trash do you got to be as a police officer if you can't stop some girls from fighting or just some teens from fighting, some children from fighting without clapping the skank? Like, what does that say about your ability to police? And furthermore, what does that say about the system and the training of police? I say this all the time. When you a hammer, everything is gonna look like nails, isn't it? Like, if your response specifically to black people is just shooting.
Because I was going to say, man, it's really it seems that the fear comes from black. Like, we saw all these videos this week. Me and you talked about a video in production, Farouk, where you saw a white guy who had his hand on a gun and told the
threatening to shoot an officer.
To shoot you.
I'm going to shoot you.
And they let that white guy drive away. We saw in Minnesota.
Didn't even chase him.
Right. Didn't even chase. We saw right after Dante Wright was killed in Brooklyn Center in Minnesota. We saw a white guy literally drive away with a cop hanging out of his window. He was not shot. And so when you see, just like you said, when you see he pulls up to a group of girls fighting, a girl has a knife, you supposedly have all these less than lethal or non-lethal remedies. Why would the first thing? But it seems like when you see black people or brown people, like the first response is black and brown people, I'm getting my gun. And we had talked about it, Miracle, the last show about like when the white guy had the gun, it was all the questions. Black guy had the gun. Police didn't even ask him no questions. They put handcuffs on him. This is just the white supremacy inherent to the system. He saw black people fighting. He probably didn't even look at if it was women or men. And his first response is most times police response is a pull-out shooting. You had something, Miracle?
Facts. I mean, he wasn't even on the scene for seconds.
I think they said 11 seconds.
Within right. And so this idea that you're coming to a fight. Also, for background, Ohio is an open carry state. Ohio is a state where you can actually use violence if you are being assaulted and attacked, right? And so that there's a fight going on. You know that this stuff is happening. You're not even able to give commands, but your first instinct is to grab a gun is very problematic. And the fact that if you watch the video, it seems very weird. And I was also thinking about adultism and how we think that darker skinned black girls are older than they are bigger than they are, and how colorism played a factor in, because the first girl is light and white passing or white presenting. And then the other, and so you see him first reach for the gun when the other girl is over there. And so I'm also wondering all of these factors that came into play for these split second decisions. And then when she's shot, no one knows what to do, right? These officers aren't responding. He's like, what should I do? How do you know how to shoot someone, but not know how to render first aid? And again, as we know, I am a person who believes in de-escalation. I have been in situations where there's been knife fights, gun fights, whole jumping situations. And so I'm not talking about things that I wouldn't do myself. And I just think we keep thinking that officers should be doing more if they're going to be these professional trained public servants.
Right. And be paid thousands of, sometimes six figures, right, to do this job. And this is, the Columbus Police Department that just, killed a guy, an older man, maybe like a few months ago, and it was very similar. The man opened fire, the cop shot him immediately and killed him. Now, that police officer was fired, but we don't even know if he's going to be indicted or tried. It's looking like they're trying to back this officer, protect this officer, just like you said, to say, oh, well, she had a knife. But just like, I agree with you, Miracle. There's been plenty of times where we broke up fights and people had knives. I mean, I've seen this happen in the schools. Like, come on, man, really? Like, that's not and he didn't even say, stop, police. Like, police, I'm here. I'm the cop. Stop, everybody. He didn't even try anything else. His first response was just murder.
And the people keep pointing out, this is the same police department who 4 days ago allowed an actual full-on riot, literally allowed a riot in the street, who on a couple days before that was taking a helicopter and flying through black neighborhoods, spelling out CPD on the radar screen. So we're talking about all of these resources that go into policing Black folks, but not into helping the Black community. And we also got to think about this girl's a foster child. Like, what does that also play into the need for support, and who is she calling for support? And if you watch again the video, it makes no sense because there's actual adults who are on scene who aren't engaging as much because they're waiting for the police to do something. So it sends this idea again that who do you get to call when you're Black, when you're a Black woman and you need help, and a Black girl and you need assistance, or a Black trans woman and your life is in danger? Like, who do you call if when you show up, the police are going to shoot you?
Right. I mean, we had a case in Pittsburgh where a homeowner called the police because his house was being robbed, and they came and killed him. And I think, you have this where, just like you said, so you have, and you have all these cases where you had the young white boy that was killed by the police. They said he had a BB gun. We saw, in Chicago, who was 13 years old, who the police actually said had a gun and was in a position. And this was another thing we talk about, like police lie, like police actually lie, right? Because in the case of Adam in Chicago was 13, they told us for 3 weeks that he had a gun and was in a defensive position to shoot the police. We watched the video. He had both of his hands up. His hands are empty, right? In the case of Anthony Thompson Jr. in Tennessee, they said he had a gun, and they actually said he shot a police officer. Come to find out, that police officer actually shot himself before then he shot Anthony Thompson Jr. And so you also not only see, like, this is, and to me, there's no other word to describe it but terrorism. You're flying helicopters over Black community. This is terrorism, pure and simple. You coming in our communities like that, that's terrorism. But then we're also having these police like actively lying about what happened. And in the case of Chicago, you have this Black queer woman mayor who's ugly police officers. The worst case about this might be the worst case of identity politics I've ever seen, because this woman is an enemy of Black people, pure and simple. I don't care who's in his life. I don't care who she related to. I don't give a damn. Lori Lightfoot can go to hell with all these other people. And so what do we make of this, where we not only have police killing children, but we also have them like actively lying about what happened. And then all these facts come out, and it's like we can't even do anything. There's supposedly body camera footage of what happened in Tennessee that they still will not release.
It shows me that like they don't care. They just don't care about human life. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they care about certain human life, but it's like I say they don't care about, it's like I say they don't care about human life, because if you care about human life, period, no matter the color of the skin on the human in front of you, you're going to try to pick the route that will sustain that human life. You know what I'm saying? But you have these cops who I don't even know if they know how to show compassion towards another human being, or like their idea of compassion is just like a very skewed view of what it means to actually care about another human being. Right.
Well, it's compassion when the white guy is like driving away with the cop attached to his truck. Like, it's compassion there, it's restraint there. And that's the thing. It's like it's restraint showed when Kyle Rittenhouse has a fucking machine gun and is walking down the street after shooting 3 people. They didn't even arrest that dude. We obviously saw compassion in the Capitol riots because we watched them open the gates for these white people, and we watched them let them go. We watched them calmly walk out of the damn state capitol, and there was restraint shown there, even though officers died. So we know cops can show restraint, but what they never do is show restraint towards us.
Statistical and property policing, right? You're valuing reports, as we've seen with the George Floyd case. When we see the actual police report versus the footage of what that looked like, the police report itself was a measly, poorly constructed 2.5, 3 paragraphs versus 9 minutes worth of footage, 9+ minutes worth of footage. You're giving these reports and basing your actions off statistical probability that have time and time again proven to be false and false equivalencies as something that you always say simple as black and white people use drugs at the same rate, right?
Yeah.
Imagine of the crime percentages then that are purported that black people commit at a higher rate. That's inaccurate. So these statistics, they're placing them in the hold as a place value for human life. I'm not killing a black person, killing a statistic. You've already, like, the protocol, the training has dehumanized us to them. They've created
100%.
propaganda. They've created propaganda. They've created all of these things that strip away the humanity of the people they're policing. So therefore, it's a lot easier to disassociate their life and devalue their life when you end it, because there's no response to try to preserve it. You are eliminating a threat. You are eliminating a target. You are eliminating something in the way that's less than human. So when this congressman says that 3/5 of a man, that amendment wasn't racist, it lets you know that it's not a matter of racism. They're seeing it's white supremacy. It's them seeing us as less than, we're subhuman. We are relegated to being subhuman. So it's so much easier to police subhumans than it is to have community policing that shows empathy.
Right. And you talk about, I mean, you know, the reason that, you know, we talked about it before, like, if you're a man in Pittsburgh, you're 6 times more likely to be arrested, because the focus of their policing is our communities. Of course, like, if you focus all your policing on us, guess what? You're going to find more drugs if you focus your policing on us. You know, but if you're a white person, you don't have to, the scrutiny isn't there. You're not just being pulled over for nothing. I mean, we saw a case when we talk about policing children in New Jersey, and this was a video went viral where police were like arresting black youth because they have bicycles in a white neighborhood. This was after we saw this, you know, white sergeant, you know, harass this young black dude for just walking through a white neighborhood. Apparently in this area in New Jersey, they actually like passed a law that said you can't ride a bicycle in this town unless the bicycle is registered to the police department. And so you see on the and so you see on this video, and I want folks, and I wish we had the video, that like this is what police do with their time. Police, they're not out solving no whodunits, right? What they're doing is just harassing black people. And so you had a situation where these young people, these 3 black children have bikes. The police take their bikes and arrest one of the kids because he's protesting. Why are you taking my bike? Oh, your bike isn't registered in this town. And so these are the type of laws that we see, and this goes directly into kind of that idea of policing that you described. And this is one of the reasons that we began to focus on media, because we understand that it's a lot of times media building these attitudes about black people, this one narrative about black men, this one narrative about black women. And so now when you see us, you know, you automatically put us in this category when we want to talk about, I mean, how we got here was criminal. I'm gonna pass the mic because I'm getting kind of hype as well.
But I think what you said is very important, right? Because I think also we have to bring up that why is this law says these bikes have to be registered, right? What's happening in Philly? What is even our local officials talking about with cracking down on ride-outs, cracking down on bike culture, cracking down on ATV?
Right.
Criminalize and regulate the way black youth, black kids are able to engage. And so when we wonder why kids are fighting, when we wonder what are kids about to do, because they have nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, because even here in Pittsburgh, they couldn't even go into stores downtown. Like, our kids are banned from going into stores, from going into restaurants. They have nothing to do but stand outside and wait for the trains to start running. And so when we're seeing kids act up, is because we have literally criminalized allowing kids to be kids. They can't ride bikes. They can't dance in the street. They can't sell lemonade. They can't go skateboarding. But then when they join gangs, the streets won. Then, then when they have people looking out for them, oh, they're under a bad influence. And so we literally have to have a conversation conversation about how we are literally policing Black and brown youth and forcing these officers to engage with them. When in reality, it's on these mayors, it's on these county executives, on these city and county councils who pass these legislation that close schools, close parks, but force kids to be out with no support and resources.
Right, and I think on that, you know, it's on these school boards to also get these police out of school. I mean, think about you're a student that has seen what's happened over this week. You've actually seen police kill actually people your age, and then now you have to go to school where there's actual police officers there. I mean, one of the things that we saw happen on the scene after the police killed Micaiah was police starts talking about Blue Lives Matter right on the scene. And so, I mean, all of this, you know, needs to be changed and needs to be changed dramatically. So we're not even halfway through. I mean, we only got, I mean, this is going to be a longer episode if y'all want to rock with us, because one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Miracle, because I've never seen this. Now, you know, because of what happened with Daunte Wright, because of the George Floyd trial, or I'm sorry, the Chauvin trial, you know, Minneapolis, St. Paul, that area was really turned into a police state. You know, we saw like it was a church where the church was, I guess, helped out people in the community, and the police went and just surrounded this church with, you know, it looked like to be maybe 500 police officers. They're all in their vests. You know, we saw police officers beating up journalists, throwing journalists on the ground, tear gassing journalists, not caring that they're identifying themselves. I mean, we saw like tanks rolling through Minneapolis, but I've seen that before, but I've never seen the scene that was at the officer who killed Daunte Wright, Kim Porter's house, where the police actually came, or the city actually came and put concrete barriers around this killer officer's house and fencing. And you know, this is where, and when we start to get like who, like, you know, I think Paris One had a song called like, "Who Protects Us From You?" Like, we're not protected. We got killed. We're getting violence done to us. But
how much did that shit cost?
Right. The city took money, resources to actually put concrete barriers and fences around a city. She don't even work for the police no more. You know what I'm saying? She resigned.
Yeah, she's a civilian. She's a civilian.
Have you ever seen anything like that, Miracle? And what the hell can you do about this?
Well, people, I was going to say something totally different. The appropriate traditional response is, if you want to do something, you have to vote people out who are making these bad decisions. Other people say you have to burn it all down. But what I would say is just to understand that made absolutely no sense. In Chicago, they were using the dump trucks to block in highways. In other places, they're using, even here when we were protesting in McKeesport, they were using like the dump trucks and the school buses to prevent protesters from parking at certain places. It's violence. This is what systemic white supremacy is, and people have to stop making excuses and thinking it's just the police. It's every single elected official. It's every single elected position that goes into supporting up and lifting up these systems of white supremacy. The fact that they literally took construction materials to this woman's house when people didn't even know where she, like, you made her a target. Like, you told people she lives here. Like, y'all could have moved her to Florida. Y'all could have put her in a witness protection program. The government here, like, they're here, just owns all these cities. All these buildings and houses and apartments. They could have relocated her and her family, but they decided to waste thousands of dollars. And then they're going to turn around and say they don't have enough money for books. They don't have enough money for affordable housing. They don't have enough money for food. And like, here we are. It was absolutely ridiculous and it made no sense because the threat against her life wasn't even there. And that's not even proactive. Like, they literally could have just moved her to a different location and put out a press announcement that the officer has been relocated. Y'all put a target on her.
Right.
And her family. And the rest of the people in the neighborhood.
Right, but
that's
I think beyond that,
homeowners association rules. Like, it's so much stuff that is happening, and it's just like,
right. But it's like beyond that, right? Beyond that, it's like she's not even an officer anymore. Like he was like, when have you ever saw like the police? Here's a civilian that, you know, is on trial for something or going on trial, been indicted, like form some type of protective barrier around this person. Shouldn't that be her cost? If she's in fear of her life, you look, you shot somebody. Nobody shot at you. You killed the boy. You know what I'm saying? When you were supposed to be training another officer, but couldn't tell your taser for your gun. And so I've never like if your life's in danger, guess what? You got a pension. Take your ass out of the country or somewhere else. If you feel like you're in danger, why should citizens have to pay for the foolishness of her terrible behavior? Could you imagine somebody else doing a horrible job and getting fired? And because of their horrible job and getting fired, people are mad at them. And we're going to build a wall in a goddamn house? For what reason? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Saeed.
See, this is. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go.
No, I was going to say this is the importance of ending qualified immunity, because if there was personal liability insurance against these officers, right, she would have to pay for that. Like, you know, I don't know what the demographic is of Brooklyn Center. I'm not even going to pretend to know, you know, the economic disadvantages that Black and brown people are facing there. But, you know, property taxes and all of that shit. But that all comes out of taxpayers' money. That all comes out of just like, you know, your pockets are going to pay for that. And this officer, at the very least of all, the department should have had their funding cut, because they should, you know, if we had immunity 100%. Cut for these officers, if we had these liabilities and these insurances in place that come and fault the individual and fault the department, not the city, not, you know, have their lawyers come and arbitrate it, but the individual, then we will really, that's how you know, attack that shit, is through the finances of it. But as Miracle said, you made this lady a target now, right? Like, we, you know, the average person, they're not taking the time out to find out her postal, you know, postal code and all that shit. But I'll tell you what I know what to look for now if I ever wanted to. It's the Fort Knox looking place. It's the place that look like Guantanamo Bay. That's what, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go there. You know what I mean? Like, now I know to firebomb that shit if that's the type of time you want. You know what I mean?
Allegedly,
yeah,
JK.
Allegedly.
Like,
being facetious.
Type shit. They keep showing us their position. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that was a move that definitely showed us what they prioritize, because you have this officer who killed a citizen. And in that moment, they showed us that they know that she was wrong. But what they did to combat that, instead of, you know, eradicating the systems and beliefs that made it possible for her to do something like that, they went and protected her from the consequences of her actions, of her negative actions that they knew were wrong. You know what I'm saying?
You on it today, brother, because I mean that's exactly what they did. Like, aren't you supposed to protect the citizens? Like, shouldn't the citizen imagine like if we took that money and gave it to Dante's family? Like, what would that mean? You know, if we looked at them and looked to them and followed up with them and checked on them, you know what I'm saying? Instead, but it shows you where your priorities. You're going to protect this officer, even though she don't even work for you all anymore. And it just shows like where their head is at. And it goes to, you know, and just speaking of the protest, because, you know, we got so much, you know, 2 stories also came out this week around police and protests, right? You had in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Police Department enlisting federal drug agents to infiltrate protests. It says that this was made public by Citizens Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, D.C., that the Philadelphia police requested the DEA to come into Philadelphia. It says dress in a fashion that will allow you to bend in with the crowd. The purpose of the request is to identify protest leaders, agitators, and individuals who are inciting violence and destroying property. And then I guess the DEA, Philadelphia wasn't the only place that the DEA did covert surveillance on people protesting. It also happened in places like Chicago and Albuquerque. So now here we are, you know, exercising a right that we said we inherently supposed to have. And here is the police requesting for people to infiltrate our protests, which we already knew was happening, you know, so we are, you know, comments about being under surveillance and about cops trying to dress like us and coming into the protests.
If you thought that,
Oh, we know that happened in Pittsburgh, Cameron.
We know. What was that movie with Queen Latifah and Steve Martin? Y'all remember when she was trying to teach him how to be down?
Was it not Bullworth? It wasn't Bullworth.
I forgot what it was. But that's our reminder, what is the shopping experience like for police officers when they have to get like a wardrobe? Like, do they have how do you sign to like the stylist for the police? Like, do you get like Cuban links? Like, I just want to know like what that is.
Bringing down the house.
Bringing down the house. That's what it reminds me of, like really dressing in style, like what we're all black. Like, I just don't get it. So at the end of the day, it's a waste of resources because number one, the majority of organizers, they tag the flyers, they introduce themselves on the mic, they say who they are and how to contact them. So it's like, why are you wasting all this money? Number one, to be like, who is this person? Number two, we know state surveillance is real. We know Quinto Pro is real. We know all this stuff is real. And that is why we always tell people to be very safe and not to engage the cops when they come. This is the most ridiculous thing, but you want to know what? If you want to stop violence, if you want to stop people from burning stuff and rioting and looting, how about you just stop killing black people? It's very simple. I mean, it's like the simplest of simples. How about you just invest in black communities? Let education be a human right. Educate folks, feed folks. I think, not really sure, but I think the Black Panthers gave y'all a 10-point program to follow. Very simple, block by block, community by community. And you won't have to call in all these resources. You can be on vacation, you watch TV, the news, and not be stressed, not have to argue with your kids' friends and stuff. You can literally just go about your day because nobody will be caring because you live in a world that's equitable for us. So instead of sending all these people to harass us, take pictures, create portfolios, how about you do your job and make our community safer by investing in our communities? No, just thought.
Right. And it's like, instead of brutalizing us for responding to police brutality, we're responding. And then to think about somebody frustrated and wanting to change the system because you saw your family member or somebody you love get killed by the police. And now I'm being infiltrated. I'm being surveilled. I'm being followed. And it's it goes back to Treble's point. Hey, DEA or whatever agency, how about you actually investigate the perpetrator of the crime, which was the actual police department? Just imagine if those resources would infiltrate them, just put a uniform on. You know what I'm saying? Well, just imagine how different the system was if they used that money and that will and that initiative to actually change the police department to one that's not white supremacist and racist. We could go about, and guess what? We all could be just eating and doing whatever we want right now. Wouldn't have to have this show. And you know what? That would be fine with us. We go and watch whatever TV show we want to binge on and enjoy the rest of our lives. That'd be fine with us.
You just brought up a really good point. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm thinking why don't they, because they dress in, they dress in regular clothes to try and infiltrate these protests. But it's why is nobody dressing in cop clothes and infiltrating the system to see exactly what the problem is, exactly where this belief is coming from? You know what I'm saying? And getting the ones who actually don't value human life the fuck out of here.
Because they all think that, and that's the problem. Because now you're actually talking about dismantling the whole white supremacist system, and that means these racist white people that want to stay in power will have to give up power. Hey, bro, if we was gonna do that, guess what, Trouble? If we was gonna do that, guess what we could have did? We could have arrested all the motherfuckers that ran into the Capitol on January 6th. They not even in jail no more. They out kicking and having a good ass old time. They all went down there and they all broke the law, and it was yo, arrest us, and we couldn't even arrest them.
It's evident.
This is nuts, man.
Well, if you ever watch Law and Order and anything like that, right? The police don't even like the fucking police. Whenever Internal Affairs Bureau come through, the cops don't even like cops. And you seen that shit at the Capitol. Cops was fucking up other cops.
Yes.
And that's the thing, that should let you know right there, if your own kind don't even want to be around you, maybe you should take it back to preschool and figure out how to work with other people. It's not rocket science, but the fact of the matter is the system itself is created to allow murder, to allow all of these different things, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just saying, speaking of law and order, that we're gonna have to call these niggas in. You know, you can't do this no more. I know y'all making money. I know y'all been doing this your whole lives. We can't participate in no more propaganda. I might have to start a petition. ALL and IC. Hey, look, we love you both. Like, let me just say it for this. No diss. We love you both. You cannot do no more propaganda. We need to board, like, black actors, directors, all that. It needs to stop. If you want to do like Denzel, you want to do a training day and show like how real the corrupt do that. Ain't no more propaganda, man.
Yeah, like, seriously,
that might be my petition.
We need that soundbite of Ice-T from New Jack City. That's what we need. You know the one. No, we don't, Farouk. So look, I need that soundbite, man.
I need that.
John, I need you to get that with me, bro. I'm gonna kill you so bad, dick's hard.
No, you don't, brother. Okay. No, you don't. He should have been banned from there. That's from a movie. It's called New Jack City. All right. So look. Right. And so speaking of locally, you know, and Cameron, thank you for joining us because you're on point right now. You know, one of the things that broke locally.
Oh, don't get me started on that shit.
Speaking of Pittsburgh and protests, right? That the Pittsburgh police, Farouk, we focusing on police this episode. Police. Police.
These niggas is police.
Wait. Okay, right. We already know that because it's infiltrators. We already knew that. Cameron broke that down. It's infiltrators. We already know that. But now the police, the Pittsburgh police, and it's kind of wild, right? Like right now, the Pittsburgh police, in the midst of the Chauvin trial, in the midst of all these things that are going on, they decided, what we need is some weapons that we can use on protesters. So they ordered a whole bunch of grenades and, you know, smoke grenades, flash grenades, quote unquote, less lethal stuff. They ordered a whole bunch of this stuff. And you cannot tell me this is not because they see something on the horizon or they saw folks. One, shout out to APA Matters and all those groups that organized that Freedom Corner yesterday. Shout out to all of them. Thank you. Black Lives Matter, Southwest Pennsylvania, all the folks that organized that. Shout out to them. But you can't tell me that this isn't a response. They see what's going on. They're getting ready. They know folks is ready to get back in the street. How should we respond? I'll start with you, Miracle. How should we respond to the Pittsburgh police basically saying, we got to order a whole bunch of flash grenades and smoke grenades because black people might start protesting again?
The first thing, I would like to request my file because I'm pretty sure they have some really cute photos. And I would like to see those, number one. Number two, why? What was the Cardi? What was the reason?
What was the reason?
Why? All of this stuff you ordered. Who were you planning to use it on? Because obviously it wasn't the Reopen PA folks who came with weapons. It wasn't the people who came with guns who said it's time to overtake the system and take y'all out. So I'm confused about who you were trying to choke.
Trump protests,
and the global
things that happened wasn't them.
In a global pandemic where there is a respiratory illness, I'm trying to figure out who you were trying to use grenades on and tear gas and smoke bombs in a place where lungs are very important. I'm very confused. So I would like to know that. And again, as we're moving to this community policing model, because we're all one Pittsburgh and we all work together. I'm so confused on why you're stocking up on ammo to do war with your neighbors. And the people, the people who are just everyday good citizens. I'm confused. So I would like some, explanation of was it a mismanagement of funds? Did you see grenade, but you thought it was grenadine, and you just got mixed up for the weekend? So I would, I'm very curious about this because why? You're supposed to be doing this community policing model. You're supposed to be doing all this training, all this bias. So I'm confused because you're doing the hard work. I saw the video. You're out playing, doing basketballs and food drives.
Now you can play chess. You can play chess with the cops in Market Square, But I think it's funny because you can go play chess with a cop, chess or checkers or whatever with a cop. Yeah, but this is the wild thing, Miracle, is that we still, and I know I've said this a lot on the show, we still don't know what happened June 1st when the Pittsburgh police decided to use these non-lethal weapons on peaceful protesters in East Liberty and hit people with rubber bullets, hit people with tear gas, lied and said they didn't. Right. So our mayor came out and said he promised an investigation, and that was June the 3rd and gets April 21st. And we still, but hey, we know we got to re-up. You know, we got to get some more.
Tear gas. It was just flavored smoke.
Flavored smoke.
Yo, I want to talk about Virginia's point, because that's exactly what I've been thinking about this whole time. It's basically like, so their preparation for protests isn't to listen to the demands that we have about how brutal the police have been to Black and brown citizens. No, they're not like, hey, why don't we just give them a reason not to protest? Instead, they're preparing for these protests by buying more weapons to further brutalize protests who are protesting against that same brutality. Right. Well, that sounds counterproductive as fuck.
Hey, Trouble. We said, hey, defund the police. Hey, we need less police. And basically they said, nah, we're gonna give more money to the police. But you know what? We'll defund the Office of Equity. Y'all got a little bit too much equity in this. I mean, it's the funny, but it's real. Like, y'all, you know what? We don't need all that equity. You know what I'm saying? We need more police. We need more lethal weapons. Equity? Nah, we don't need that shit. We'll kick rocks to that. You know what I'm saying? And so it goes to insanity. Like it's like it becomes comical. And it would be like if people's real lives weren't affected in the way it was, it would be comical. And you're 100% right. Like we all know we got surveillance, whatever folders, we got all types of stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got all of that. Did you have anything, Farouk?
Man, fuck them niggas.
That's good. Okay, so I think. Okay, so we're almost through. I know we're over, but if you're still hanging with us, but we did have the report. Speaking of protests, right? So we did have this police officer. Whoever went into this Kyle Rittenhouse GoFundMe or Christian Mingle, whatever it was, somebody went in there and they imagine.
That's how you met someone on Christian Mingle. What's that got to say about you? That your likes and interests is Kyle Rittenhouse. Like Kyle imagine, right? like you know what I mean? Like, is that a hashtag that you search for on that shit? Like,
hey,
see, I knew Christian Mingle wasn't shit when I seen it in all those commercials, bro.
It wasn't really Christian Mingle though. I forget what the Christian. It's a Christian crowdfunding
I was about to say, like,
and I don't know what it's called. So I don't know what
Christian Mingle get all the smoke.
I'm about to say, I
just called it Christian Mingle.
And farmers only.
One of the hackers, whoever one of these great hackers, I don't know if it was Mr. Robot, whoever, basically released all the information of people that donated to Kyle Rittenhouse, and guess what? There was cops that donated to Kyle Rittenhouse, and there was a police officer.
Water's wet today. Water is wet today.
But this one police officer in Virginia, he left him a message. So he couldn't just donate. He couldn't just if he just gave Kyle Rittenhouse his $25 or $100 and walked away, that'd have been fine. But no, he felt the need to give Kyle Rittenhouse a message. And the message was, all uniformed police officers are with you. You did nothing wrong. Now, mind you, this was a 17-year-old white kid that drove across state lines with an illegal weapon and shot unarmed protesters. This is what he did. But in the eyes of the police, not only did he do nothing wrong, not only did this cop, who's an internal affairs police officer, take that what you will, and a sergeant, but he also said all the police are with Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, he was fired. You know what I'm saying? His name was put out there. People organized. Shout out to the folks in Virginia that organized, and he was fired. But what in the hell? Like, this is what we've been saying. Like, these cops are racist. Oh, they're not racist. Oh, they don't care. We don't see color. But yet you're donating to Kyle Rittenhouse and saying all the police officers are with him.
You see, what I hear when I see shit like that is that basically these cops wish those rubber bullets were, metal.
Yes.
Were real.
Yes.
I feel like they look at Kyle Rittenhouse and they probably feel this sense of, damn, like he's doing what we wish we could do. You know what I'm saying? If we could kill protesters, we'd be doing it. Like, that's exactly what I hear when I hear them praising him and telling him that he did nothing wrong, telling him that they stand behind him because they wish that they could do what he did that day.
Yes. The quote was, every rank and file police officer supports you. Don't be discouraged by actions of the political class of law enforcement leadership. Every rank and file police officer supports you. That was this officer's message. Miracle?
I have a problem with these officers co-opting progressive language and organizer language, the political class. Since when have you cared about the political? Like, why? Like, number one. Number two is the idea that he got caught because he used his official, first of all, he was on his official work time, was the official work email, sending money to defendants. Talking about we stand with you. Like, what happened to like waiting for an investigation and waiting for the facts to come out during trial? All this type of stuff. I'm very confused about that. But there's also this idea that we keep trying to say, police do not like Black folks. You know, in general type of generalities. In the schools, they're taught that Black people are criminals, that Black people are violent, all this type of stuff. We say this as Black people, and then we then have officers themselves like come out. I don't know if we're going to do the Oath Keepers clip or not. And they come out and they say they are white supremacists themselves. And I want to know what is the next step, because I feel like we yell so many things. It's like yelling into a vacuum. And then when it's like, oh, you were right. And then we just go on about our day. But it's like, you told us for 4 years since 2012 when we all died. You said that like we have been lying about police officers being racist, and now we have once again the fact that they're now active white supremacist trainers and teachers. What are you going to do about it? Like, our lives are and our safety and just our ability to move, it comes with the permission of police, because the police can stalk us every single day, arrest us every single day. So like now what are you doing now that you know there are active white supremacists who are
And for those that don't know what Miracle's talking about, one of the founders of the Oath Keepers was on CNN, or I'm sorry, on 60 Minutes. And in this 60-minute clip, he actually talked about how the police were training these Oath Keepers. So here you have, you know, rank and file police officers that obviously, like Trouble said, you know, you support Kyle Rittenhouse because in your mind, these people that protest the police are worthy of death, regardless of what we're peaceful, regardless of the fact that we're angry because of what we saw, the brutality we see. You hate people protesting. You think, I mean, we all should just, you know, you should have carte blanche to do whatever you want. So they supported Kyle Rittenhouse. Not only did they support him shooting people, they didn't even arrest him. But the on 60 Minutes, the head of the Oath Keeper actually said the police department is training their militia. And so that's a great question, Miracle, because we've been saying, and you know, the FBI did their own report that said white supremacist groups have infiltrated the police. We saw police also not, you know, they donated to the cop that shot Jacob Blake. So here we are in Pittsburgh, right? Here we are with one of the highest activities of white supremacy. Here we are with a situation that happened in Vanguard, where a young brother was just sitting in a restaurant, minding his own damn business with his girlfriend who had a service dog, and this police officer wasn't even. He said he was answering a call for marijuana. Goes into the restaurant, you know, harasses them because they have a service dog. The girlfriend takes the service dog away out of the restaurant, still demanded that this black man leave the restaurant, demanded that he show him his ID, demanded that he checked his name against warrants. And the restaurant owner said, we didn't even call this motherfucker. Like, the restaurant owners was like, we didn't even know why he was in our restaurant. And so what do we do?
I never liked Vandergrift. When I went, they were like, it always had
don't go to Vandergrift.
Racist. You know what I'm saying? It always had a super racist vibe. As soon as you drive in, as soon as you see that sign, it's like, ooh, like, black people don't belong here for real.
It sounds racist.
I don't even know what that is. Like, I thought it was like some far place. Apparently it's close.
Yeah, but and you know, they're talking about they're going to talk, the officers on paid leave. Does it mean anything that, like, Miracle, that the Virginia officer was fired? that gave to Kyle Rittenhouse? Does it mean anything that, like, you know, there's officers on paid leave, but these officers are being investigated at this point?
No. I don't like to be the Debbie Downer of the group, but like Dr. Bay was saying the other day, like, we got to be honest. He gets fired, so now he's gonna have a GoFundMe. Now he's gonna be on Fox News. Like, and another police department's gonna hire him. Like, no, like, his life is set. He's gonna be attached. He's gonna be the next Comey Lauren. He's gonna have a podcast. He's gonna have a book. He's gonna do a book tour. And I'll talk about cancel culture, and he'll be just fine. Like, these white supremacists are out here being bankrolled, and it's just like they don't care. There's no standards. And I feel like it's like we've been bamboozled. Like, I feel like as Black folks were told that all of these jobs were like so prestigious. You had to work so hard to get these jobs. You had to be the cream of the crop, the top of the class to get these jobs. And now we see that these people are just like trash. And it's just like they're here doing all this stuff, messing up our lives, and at the bottom of the barrel. And here we are now just having to deal with their idiot. Like, that man was having a meal with his girlfriend in an ADA accessible, compliant way, and had this officer who's had a jacket, which basically means who's had charges of his own in the past, come and harass him for no reason. And no, nothing's going to happen.
And then the 911 call, right?
And our mayors and the county officials like, oh, Harrisburg has to do something about it. And Harrisburg is going to say, well, we don't know what to do about it, and we're just going to still be here in these situations until somebody decides to stop and fix it.
Right, and I think, like, the 911 call was like for marijuana, and it's like somebody was smoking. Like, who cares? Like, somebody smoking marijuana outside of a restaurant. Like, who cares? Like, if marijuana is decriminalized and somebody calls and says, hey, there's somebody smoking marijuana outside of a restaurant, so what? They're outside. Guess what? Keep walking, take your ass home. But it's all of these low-level things that police find themselves in, and guess what? We the ones end up getting harassed. And you said it, Miracle, like, where is cancel culture? Because the one of the officers that killed Breonna Taylor has a fucking book deal. He killed Breonna Taylor, and this is why these motherfuckers got to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? But even then, you know what I'm saying? If you don't go to jail for how long? I mean, go for a while. Because if you do 1 or 2 years, you get out and you do, the book deal tour. But literally, this is not makeup. One of the officers who killed Breonna Taylor has a book deal. But you want to tell us about cancel culture? I mean, this is insane. It's insane.
We still got to wait for the other officers involved in George Floyd's murder to go on trial on the 23rd of August.
True.
And that's, and people with, yes, Derek Chauvin was the perpetrator. Yes, he was the executioner, as it were, but he was still supported by this cast of wastemen, right? That we still got to put on trial. And there's no promise that they're going to see sentences, jail time, or charges. I don't know if Keith Ellison is handling this, inshallah, that we get some justice across the board unilaterally. But when it comes time for these officers with these jackets and all these offenses and things like this, and they get in their book deals and all of this, it shows America's still infatuation with police, right? And as we were children, there was a game called Cops and Robbers, but you're misunderstanding this game. It's not cops, and like Oxford, and robbers. Cops and robbers are the same people, right? If you look at the Rampart Division, if you look at all of these occasions with policing across the board, it doesn't matter what city, you have corruption at its core.
Hey, real quick, as you talk about that, right now in Virginia, in Fairfax County, they have to dismiss more than 400 criminal cases because a police officer, Jonathan Freitag, was also stealing drugs from police property, planting drugs on innocent people, stopping motorists without legal bias. So I just wanted to co-sign what you said. That also happened this week. That 400 cases have to be re-adjudicated because it's crooked cop. Also, I had a hotline one time where I said, ain't no more cops and robbers. The cops is robbers. They on the block with pride, filling slots for lockup. You know what I'm saying? That's just a little.
I said
bars.
That, you know,
bar.
like
Bars.
that was good. That was good bars. It was good bars. Good internal rhymes.
Yeah.
I had my case overturned because police tampered my evidence. When they confiscated me allegedly with a firearm, there was allegations that I discharged said firearm. However, when they retrieved said firearm that was allegedly on my person, it had a full clip. Some police officers took ammunition out the clip.
Oh,
I was able to walk off of that. Right? That goes back to the lying that police can do, all of these things, right?
absolutely.
But 400 cases. Bro, I'm trying to chill because it's Ramadan, but I'll kill these niggas when that's sundown. That's what Dave E said, man. Large up Dave
And
E.
he wasn't even
like,
30 years old. Like, the officer was like a young officer, a freshman officer, and he was out here like planting drugs on folks. And it's just like
state police do it. Like, it's
at the end of the day, I think that we really have to reimagine what our systems and our sense of love and justice and second chances and accountability is, because we, like, 400 cases, how many lives was that? How many people, their whole futures have been like interrupted, if not almost destroyed?
Yeah.
I don't know what the answers are, but I'm about to be like, listen, we really just got to free all the guys, close all the prisons and jails, like sit down for like 2 or 3 hours, two or 3 years, and write
unless you participated.
Out.
Unless you participate in the Capitol riot, then your ass got to stay. And unless your name is Derek Chauvin, your ass got to stay behind bars. You know what I'm saying?
But I think we really need, like, I know if you're, they talk about 7 years of Jubilee. I really think we just need to like institute some type of like automatic expungement program, because clearly we're not getting it right. Like, clearly, like every from Alabama to now, like we keep getting these stories, and we're waiting for stuff to happen here in Pittsburgh. We're waiting for all these exposés to come out. It's just like, at what point do we just say, you know what, we messed up, just bring people home, we're going to fix this, and we're going to try again, because this project is a failure.
And what are they going to sentence him to?
Probably, I mean, they're saying
less than 15.
Yeah, right.
What type of a facility will he go to?
Oh, I mean, that's a great
question. I mean, because he's going to be in PC.
He'll be in a minimum to medium security prison.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You trying to go out like Lil Boosie did?
Man. Listen, I might just fuck around and catch a charge there one day on accident. I might have some speeding tickets.
You're not. No, you're not. You think they're gonna let you get close to Chauvin? He's gonna be. He's in
PC.
Protected.
He's gonna be in PC.
Well protected. But this is the thing, and his sentencing is in 8 weeks. But I think like like I said, going back to Trouble's point, like
why do you say
and so, right? Why do you say stuff like that? Stop that, man. Stop. You're not being a twin when you say stuff like that. So look, somebody had mentioned, I guess they're gonna, the federal government said they're gonna investigate Minneapolis Police Department. We just had a situation. I guess our last cop story was this, poor black child went over his friend's house and didn't know his mom was a police officer. And he said something about Black Lives Matter, and then she lost her damn mind. But like Trouble said, like, we know that these officers are there racist. We just had a situation here in Pittsburgh where they got into the Facebook page, and all these cops was on there saying racist stuff. So at what point, like,
this
really,
is Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh Facebook, the Pittsburgh cop Facebook was exposed by the AP, and all of these local cops. Yeah, all these local cops were talking about Black Lives Matter and we thugs and we criminals, and just like this woman who screamed on her son's friend because he happened to say Black Lives Matter in her house and she's a cop. And so at this point, and I just want to say this, we're just waiting for the next, like this, if this is the attitude that they have towards us, and it goes with what Trouble said, and you're not spending no money or resources to root out these racist police officers from your department, these officers that are training oath keepers from your department, because I think Vandergrift, wasn't that the Vandergrift police officer that went to the Capitol? Wasn't he in Vandergrift that went to the Capitol riot?
Oh shit, I didn't even know that.
So if you don't do that, we're just waiting for something crazy to happen. here in Pittsburgh. And best believe when something crazy happens in Pittsburgh, are they going to try to reform it? Are they going to try to change? No, they're going to break out all of them damn gas grenades that they just got and use them on us. And that's the cycle.
This is something that's real about this show. It's like this shit is real triggering, right? I'm 100%. I'm super agitated because I just, I have a very personal stance on police that has been whatever, right? And I'm making jokes and everything, but it's the only way that I could keep from really exploding on the inside and melting down about this. Because 100%. Like, as someone who's been victimized by police very, very, way too many times I can't count. I'm not going to speak on all the anecdotal issues. I still have my life with me, right?
Yeah.
And how many people do we talk about on the course of this show? We've been on almost a year now that have been murdered by police over the course of this show.
Yes.
That we have to talk about. And
yes,
we were all, I think I speak for all four of us, very cognizant of avoiding the Derek Chauvin trial and only talking about it on Wednesdays because we need time away from this. And the reason we 100%. Have this show is to bring awareness to the issues. Yeah, absolutely. But it's the same axiom to laugh to keep from crying. Like, this shit is heavy. Like, we got to deal with this every fucking day. And the fact that our reality is at any given time, any black person can be gone. Thanos snapped out of existence by police and just for being black.
And like you said, that's why we had this show, because it's really a call to action. Like, we gotta do something. What we can't do, because if you are black or brown or have black and brown people you love, it's really one bad day, quote unquote, or one racist cop jumping out of his car, and then it's a wrap for us. And so,
what did Uncle Shannon Sharp say? If you're not upset right now, if you're not being an ally, you don't have black friends, black people.
Yes, right. Black people, and then somebody mentioned today, like, look, if you don't try to argue to justify a black child being killed by police, I want nothing to do with you.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing to do. Don't come around me. Don't say nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going to go there, but we do. It is therapy. We do get a lot of stuff out. I got my ranting on. I'm gonna, break my fast and get my food on and kind of relax. You had something, Miracle?
Well, it was going to be negative, so I'm gonna
come with it.
I just want to point. I'm so sorry, y'all. I just want to point out, like, yesterday there are 5 people, including Micaiah Bryant, who was killed by police. Today there were like allegedly 3, maybe even 4 people who've been murdered by police. So the system is not stopping. But on top of that, we're talking about that woman who was beating her friend, engaging her friend. We also got to talk about, like, the domestic violence and assault and family violence that happens in these officers' homes, and how this whole system is traumatizing everyone, officers included, right? And I think that at some point we're going to have to admit that policing is an abject failure, that prisons are abject failure, that jails are abject failure. All of us have been victimized because of police violence. All of us have gone through certain situations because of police and police violence. Some of us four on the screen, right? And so we are talking from personal experiences because we understand what happens when police shows up in people's homes. And what we are calling for is the people to actually engage. Don't just like watch the show, get entertained, get outraged, but also like talk to your family members, talk to your friends, talk to your local elected officials. Today in St. Louis, Mayor Tashara, she just defunded the workhouse, right? She literally is showing what can happen when people organize and fight back and come together. And so there are so many wins that are happening, whether it's the closings of the jails, whether it's the electing of progressive folks, whether it's the expansion of mutual aid. There's so much on the ground work that is happening. So yes, we are fighting, these systems of white supremacy, but we're also winning because now we're talking about, the George Justice the Policing Act, really Basura. What we need to be talking about is like the Breathe Act that's out here, that's going to defund the police, that's going to support communities, that is going to, bring into safety planning, actually impact the community members, and it's going to stop officers from buying these non-lethal but lethal weapons. It's gonna stop the militarization of the police. It's gonna get the police out of our schools and our homes, our communities. And so there are things that we can be pushing. And so I don't want people to always feel discouraged or feel like all they have is violence. There's still things that you can take to overthrow the system through working and organizing and mutual aid and those types of things.
Right. And we did have, I think it was, county council women, Liz Bennett and Bethany Howland, that actually tried to prevent the county from buying those type of less lethal weapons. And so we need more, we need to elect more folks that are willing to take those stands and demilitarize the police. You know what I'm saying? Those are some of the things that we need to do. We got a vote coming up May 18th. We need to get active. One more thing before we go to our call to action in our book. Brett Favre, I guess, just came out and said that, Chauvin didn't mean to kill George Floyd. Hey, well, guess what, Brett Favre, check this out. That's why second and third degree murder, homie. You know what I'm saying? If you understand, like, obviously you got hit in the head a lot when you was a quarterback. That's why second, third, it didn't matter. He killed him. And guess what? The motherfucker's going to be in prison. So we can just move on, Brett Favre. Whether or not that you believe that or not, I was shooting in the crowd. I shot somebody, I killed somebody. Guess what? I need to be accountable for that murder, whether I meant to do it or not. We don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying?
Remember when Brett Favre got caught sending his small dick to people?
I just want to know what
that statement screams small dick energy. Like,
why?
He did though. He did.
See the humanity. Why can't people see the humanity in black people?
He was early on that. Brett Favre was early on that.
Yeah, man, listen, Brett Favre's like, you gonna see these 3 inches. You gonna see these 3. Pause. Early.
He was early on that too. You know what I'm saying? That was before it even became popular. Brett Favre was a pioneer. Pioneer in penis pics.
There goes our grant funding for the next fiscal year. It's gone.
Woo! All right. So anyway, we needed a laugh.
And now you guys talk about the good book. I am.
Bro, it's crazy to think that I'm the youngest one here.
You are by far the most mature. Trevor is by far the most mature.
Listen, I say this all the time. I am a 35-year-old teenager that pays most of his bills on time.
Woo, woo.
That's
Lord,
how I am.
I'm super immature.
We have yes.
See what happened was.
I want to get to the call. We do have a call to action. Can you talk a little bit about our we'll get back on. Talk a little bit about our call. Wait. Let's do our white pages. You have a white page.
I think we should do the call to action first, and then we can have enough separation.
Enough space. Okay, so talk a little bit about call to action from small dick
today
miracle.
As I said, there's a lot of mutual aid work coming on, and people are coming together at this time. There are 2 organizations that are Ohio-based. One is the Community Care Collective, and the other is the Central Ohio Freedom Fund. These 2 organizations work to uplift Black organizers, Black protesters, and Black community members, as well as impacted folks. And so our call to action is for those of you who are financially able to, is to please to support these local Ohio organizations. As of yet, we have not seen Cash Apps or GoFundMes directly for the family as of yet. And so what we want to do is support these local on the ground organizations who are supporting the organizers and the protesters with education, resources, housing, food, bail funds, all of that. So please support these 2 funds, because it is Ramadan, and people, especially charity with housing and food is one of the things we're supposed to be doing for this Ramadan. And so
real quick, like, I just want to repeat, like, because Facebook is blocking the link for whatever reason. If it says Facebook said the link goes against community, I don't know. So if you're watching on Facebook, it's centralohiofreedomfund.org. Go to centralohiofreedomfund.org, and that's where you could support that. I just did want to echo that.
and the Community Care Collective. I don't know what Facebook say hating on us.
Yes,
as the racist.
Yes, they're racist.
It's a conversation for another day.
100% racist in tech. And so, white pages, you got our white pages, Saeed with the shades.
Yeah, man. I actually can read, and I can read pretty well. I know I say this all the time that I can't read on here, but man can read.
You got the Holy
Hooked
Quran audio book, Holy Quran. You got it on audio.
I actually do in English and Arabic. But today's book is towards 2 words, sacred activism, right?
We're gonna have to give you the book. We gotta give you the book.
But wait. No,
and I want to point out that you let people know you're a Muslim, because I don't want nobody to say we're out here being disrespectful.
Yes.
I mean,
is a Muslim.
Yes. I have been. What? I can't be black and Muslim. I can't be black, Arab, and Muslim on this show.
I'm black and Muslim.
You cracking jokes holding the book. I just want to make sure. I don't want no smoke.
Yes. Right. Listen. I mean, I don't know. People attack me for everything, but no. So it's dope that we got a book like this, and large up my brother Mustafa for dropping this off to me. Towards Sacred Activism by Dawood Walid. What something that always gets called into account about super religious people is that we can't show up authentically for intersectionality, and this specifically references ayahs in surah and just hadith about showing up for the LGBTQIA community, about coming towards activism from an Islamic standpoint, but also authentic and not challenging the Quran, not challenging the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam about activism, right? Is how we can show up authentically for our neighbors. And as the Prophet Isa said, peace be upon him, love thy neighbor. I think that was Jesus who said, love thy neighbor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of them niggas with a beard, but he said, love thy neighbor. And so that's what we're trying to do with this sacred activism, man. We come in 2 words, sacred activism. And
yes, I do want to have a conversation one day about like people that like post just Jesus all day and like never get involved in can't make the correlation between like Jesus being killed by the state and George Floyd being killed by the state. I just find that, I just wonder. I find it super, super weird. And I just, I don't know.
That's because they let him take the proverbial wheel. You know what I'm saying? They believe that Jesus is just going to deliver their blessings to their doorstep.
Yeah, but if you let Jesus take the wheel, you'd be a revolutionary. You're not you're not actually letting Jesus take the wheel. And to me, it just makes me question like your understanding of like what Jesus actually did, understanding of the Bible. Like this ain't, we beyond like summer Sunday school. Like this is the real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just weird to me that people can't make those correlations and be Christians, and it's just all about Jesus and love. And yeah, that's just my little 2 cents. So anyway, thank y'all for staying with us. If you stayed with us the full hour and 40 minutes, you know what I'm saying? We appreciate you. If not, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully you'll go back and maybe break it up into 2 episodes and listen to the whole thing. And, if we offended you as a police officer, that was not our intention. We want to see you do your job in a non-racist, actual protecting and serving way. That's what we would like to see. And we would like you to see, petty, somebody participated in sex work. That's not a crime. Somebody should be arrested for. Go do your job. So anything else?
Yeah.
We got other shows. Ask a Black Doctor tomorrow.
We got Ask a Black Doctor. I feel we're talking about obesity tomorrow. I feel a type of way, but I'm gonna let it go.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Miracle, please feel free to join us. Ask a Black Doctor. We are talking about there is a correlation. It came out in the New York Times.
That is why I am eligible for the vaccine, because I'm in obesity, as my doctor used to say.
It says regular exercise presents against severe COVID. So yes, We will, yes.
Listen, I exercise all the time, and I got COVID.
But you didn't get the severe COVID.
You know what? I wish you had
one. I don't know.
Were you in the hospital?
No, but I could have been.
Almost. He wanted to be. We should have had like a tab.
Bro, I was fucked up. I was fucked up.
Mentions he had COVID.
Oh, we done drink when Farouk says he has COVID.
No, I was just speaking in context. That's all. I was just speaking in context.
Saeed with COVID. But anyway, so join us Ask the Black Doctor tomorrow at 7 p.m. And then this Saturday, the 1 year anniversary. Tell us what's popping, Treble.
Feel me? So this Saturday, right? We've been doing this slam for a year now. And this Saturday we'll be celebrating the 1st year anniversary of the slam. We got some amazing poets. We have some guest judges. We got a DJ. Bro, it's popping. You don't want to miss it. I promise you.
Hey, you know what, Trouble, man? We might have to up the prize because it's the 1 year anniversary, man. We might have to do that, man. Let's talk about that. Yeah. We might have to up the prize, man. So So join us if you're not registered yet. Register for the Poetry Slam. It's on and popping 1 year.
1 year. Last thing, tomorrow at 6. Yeah, now because y'all get mad because I said I brought my stuff. Tomorrow at 6 with Take Action, Mon Valley, Beam, Western Power. I believe that's it. We're talking about how to build your own table, so what to do if you want to run for office. So tune in tomorrow at 6 on the Beam with Take Action, Mon Valley. Facebook pages will be. You actually can run for some offices.
True, you might need to. You in Wilkinsburg, bro. Might need to be mayor that bad.
Hey, man.
The current mayor ain't running no more. You know what I'm saying? Like
Marita's not running?
I don't think so. I think she's
There's no way.
No, the current mayor is not running.
Yeah, she's not running again. So look, you could be mayor of Wilkinsburg, but shout out to Veem because I really do love the work Veem does. Of course, we love Take Action Mon Valley. And then of course we love Miracles. So those are 3 reasons you should tune in tomorrow. And it's on whose Facebook? Veem's Facebook?
Veem and Take Action Mon Valley.
Would anybody vote for me?
I would vote for you.
Nobody white and a cop.
Damn.
Ain't no white people in Wilkinsburg anyway.
Nobody that likes Brett Favre is gonna vote for you. They mad as hell right now.
How you gonna be mad at me? Brett Favre got a little dick. That's not my fault.
Farouk, come on. It's Ramadan. Stop that.
You was over here saying all the cuss words tonight. You said every cuss word ever.
I said every cuss word.
He gonna have to make up days. He gonna say extra prayers.
May Allah forgive me. Yes, I do have to. We all right. We gonna have to make up this day, brother. This was crazy. So join us next week. We really hope. And we don't have.
Wait. We have to make up a day because we cuss.
I mean, this egregiously, you might as well.
Yeah, you might as well. So, thank everybody for joining us. Join us next week. What's up, Thor? You've been watching This Week in White Supremacy. Peace, y'all.
Did nobody?
They suck the blood of the poor and to wipe their mouth. The last gas of a world that is dying out. Welcome to the whitest house, where every room is a tomb that they lie about. Where you can put your filthy feet on the finest couch, and for the right amount, you can even buy it.